This next guest, who is a decorated U.S. Special Forces lieutenant, retired Army Special Forces lieutenant. Did I get that right?
It's Lieutenant Colonel.
Sir. Just wow, look at that. And he is a candidate for the Republican nomination for New York's 3rd Congressional District. I am talking about the great Tom Ludwig.
Jimmy, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And, of course, your website, ludwigforcongress.com. Okay, you have served this country valiantly, and we thank you for that. What motivated you when you got back here to the mainland to go into politics?
So it's been interesting. So, I just retired from the Army. I wanted to continue to serve my country. And I started my Army career just a couple months before 9/11. Mm-hmm. So my whole career was combat. So I did 1 Iraq, 3 Afghanistan, 3 in South America. And then after I retired, I was at Harvard. I was studying public administration. So I was thinking about it anyway, but it was really...
But you went to Harvard for one of your degrees. I don't mean to compete. I went to Harvard State. I didn't quite get into
Well, I started at Nassau. So
yeah, you did. Nassau community in the house. Right, continue.
I actually had a lower GPA at Nassau than I did at Harvard.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I actually got a 4.0 at Nassau
really?
with blood alcohol. Not GPA, different story, but continue.
But and then once I saw it was Santos, it was from our district, the stars kind of aligned, and then it was just the fact that it's my friends and family not being represented.
Yeah.
He's kicked up, he's essentially a joke, and this was before the Botox and OnlyFans. And then, with the military, I was part of 2 wars that didn't really accomplish their strategic objectives. And I just kind of felt the country is heading downhill, both domestically and internationally. Mm-hmm. So for me, this job, I get to make the country stronger through foreign policy and national security, as well as represent my friends and family from home. So
yes.
It's the perfect.
We're talking to Tom Ludwig, the website ludwigforcongress.com. Now, where I see you at a huge advantage is obviously your background of serving the country and caring about the country. I knew where you grew up. You grew up in my town, Levittown, where we were the biggest post-World War II community for GIs returning home from the war. We grew up around the greatest generation. We basically grew up around a lot of old men you shouldn't make a sudden move around. Played a lot of basketball, drank a lot of beer, and probably got beat up a little bit. You got smacked around as a kid, right?
Yeah, my dad was strict, but it was good.
No, better for you. I mean, look at you. Okay, you're a military hero. You're running for Congress. I'd say it works. Beat your kids, folks. I kid. That is not the official viewpoint of Ludwig for Congress. But the point is, I do know you're uniquely qualified in that regard. That we were raised in Levittown with a lot of perspective in terms of how lucky we are to live here. So do you feel like, as a guy who left the country for 25 years, is that what you said it was? You hadn't lived back on Long Island in 25 years?
Yes.
Okay, and you were serving and you were abroad and you did all these combat tours. Do you basically feel like you came back to a different country than the one you left? Is that what it is?
I would say yes, but it's interesting where, I'd always visit Long Island. So my friends and family are still here. So I'd always kind of see it, and you see it change over time. Mm-hmm. But I do think the countries kind of have changed, like their perspectives and some of the arguments. You can just tell that they haven't really been outside the country, or they don't really understand how good they have it.
Yeah, there's definitely a gratitude problem in this country right now. Like, everybody thinks we're under attack and we're oppressed, and a lot of the things we're protests get laughed at on the other side of the world. So in that regard, you have, I think, a good footing here in this race. My concern is, I know Santos isn't running now, but you're still attempting to fill the shoes of a guy who's not only a Holocaust survivor, he personally caught Bigfoot and swam with the Loch Ness Monster. Now, do you think you have that depth of knowledge?
With the 5 degrees, but no, not that knowledge.
When you think of how many people Santos rescued during the sinking of the Titanic, do you feel like anything in your military acumen can compete with that?
Yeah, that the Combat Valor Award and Santos, it's hard to compare, but
We're talking to Tom Ludwig, the website ludwigforcongress.com. He is running for the Republican nomination for New York's 3rd Congressional District. How have you liked campaigning so far? Have you gotten to get out and meet people yet, or you're just kind of starting to roll out?
It's interesting talking to the people because the Army's, kind of the right wing, and then Harvard was very left. So I've gotten all the arguments, but really learning how Long Islanders and New Yorkers see things, because, we do have a different perspective. And I do think growing up in Levittown was good, where it's the definition of middle class. It was the first. So, you kind of see it all. So it is interesting just to see how everybody views things and how they view the issues. And then they just want to be represented. They just want to live their lives and not be held back. And, I think...
kind of get the government out of the way.
Yeah.
Is there a signature focus for you right now?
So my background, foreign policy was a big thing for me. And then, when I was in South America, I was in 7th Special Forces Group. So that was our section of the world. So at one point, I commanded all special ops in Central America. So I know the migration thing too. So that aspect, but now I'm focusing on like my friends and family and Long Island. So, it's really like inflation, cost of living, and the migration crisis.
Do you think on some level the average person is I almost blissfully ignorant to the threat posed to this country by the border situation we're currently involved in?
They are, because it's nice to say, the idealism, we should all come in and that's fine. And, I think, America is a beacon of freedom. We should encourage that. But there has to be rule of law. And there has to be some sort of monitoring. And then people don't understand, too, with, I've worked these cartels. These cartels are formidable, and they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on counterintelligence. And then the human trafficking, the fentanyl, I mean, it's a major threat to this country.
Tom Ludwig gets it. He's running for Congress. LudwigForCongress.com. You can go there and donate. You can support his campaign.